Welcome to the Green Table Talk. I am your host, Jane Johnson. I am extremely happy and honored to share the story of my two friends, Jessica and Ian. We have just this amazing culmination between the both of you. You donated your liver, Ian, to Jessica.
I listed everything and he just turned and looked at me and was like, okay. And I'm like, what do you mean, okay?
Did you hear what I said?
I have ulcerative colitis. I've had my colon removed. I had to have temporary ileostomy. I had a reconnection surgery.
Ian, What is going through your mind when you hear all this? The woman that you're like head over heels over is running off a laundry list of this and this and this.
I'm hearing honesty.
That is beautiful.
They were necessary conversations.
Yes.
They're hard conversations to have, but you're glad that you have them.
Welcome to the Green Table Talk. I am your host, Jane Johnson. I am extremely happy and honored to share the story of my two friends, Jessica and Ian. Jessica, Ian, and Sadie in the background there. There she is. Welcome to the Green Table Talk. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. So we have a beautiful, romantic, whirlwind love story. We have just this amazing culmination between the both of you. You donated your liver, Ian, to Jessica, correct?
This is
and
correct.
Jessica, there's just so many layers to peel back here. But you know what? Let me start from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about yourselves, your hobbies, what you like to do in your spare time. Give me and the audience a little bit of background knowledge about the both of you.
You go first.
Okay, I was gonna say I can go first. I like gardening. My mom was a gardener, so I learned a lot from her. So that's a big thing for me. I love my plants. Beautiful. And I sometimes volunteer Ian to help me with it.
That's voluntold.
Voluntold. We have two dogs. So this is Sadie, and we have another dog, Atlas, who's hiding behind Ian. So we don't have any children. These are our children. So
fur babies. Nothing's wrong with fur babies.
Got it. They're really important to us. We like doing things like we're trying to get into camping more. That's one of Ian's big things.
I'm trying to get Jessica into camping more.
Now, are you into the hardcore camping? Like you're in the woods, not
paddle.
glamping, the hardcore.
Yeah. He's
gotcha.
hardcore.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've booked a couple of sites to go camping this summer. So we're taking that off the list. I'm gonna say traveling, just because we love traveling to places we've never been.
New experiences.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a crafter. That's a big hobby of mine. So I like doing crafts.
Beautiful.
You name it, I do the craft. I have a Cricut, if anybody knows what a Cricut is. And you can make all kinds of stuff with it. So I got that for Christmas when I was sick, actually. So I haven't really been able to use it. So I'm looking forward to being able to use it more. But you can make t-shirts and cards and all kinds of things with it. So that'll be a big time waster for me.
But it's productive time being used. It's not wasting productive time.
Very productive time. Yes.
Yes.
It's really me time.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with that.
Other than that, I think we're really big with spending time with family and friends. Mm-hmm. Our calendars and stuff just get filled up trying to space ourselves between all of our friends and family, because we've got friends from high school that we still see on a regular basis and consider family as well. So,
family.
Yeah, family.
Fine,
yeah, you got it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. What about you, Ian?
So my hobbies. Okay, so I don't like gardening.
But he's a good sport. He does it anyways.
See, that's a good man right there. That's good.
Yeah, he does it anyways.
I like to keep myself busy with, just putting around the house and doing house upgrades. I like doing renos.
I have to interrupt just because, but speaking of gardening, he's a grass guy.
Yeah.
So he loves his grass.
Yes.
So I would consider that a hobby.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah, I have to have the greenest grass in the block. But yes.
Okay.
So
You were talking about like doing home renos and
yeah,
stuff.
home renos. I like doing my own home renos, upgrading the house, just make our house more a home,
Oh, home,
more,
of course.
more what we want it, right?
Mhm.
I also like assembling things. Like I love IKEA stuff because
Mm.
following the instructions and putting stuff together. Lego, I'm a 42-year-old child. But in Star Wars, I've always been a big fan. So Star Wars Lego to me is a very expensive hobby.
Uh-huh.
There's some video games and
Yeah, and camping is your other.
yeah,
your big
well,
thing.
again, we talked about camping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So between the two of you, you've got a lot of hobbies and things that you do together, basically.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So let me know about when you first met. Give me a little background story about that. How many years ago was that, approximately?
So that was around 2006.
Yep.
Sort of.
Okay.
When we got together, we had met previously, but just
High school sweethearts?
yeah. No, well,
Okay.
no, not exactly.
So
Sort of. No.
it's okay. So we'll go back to high school. So a good friend of mine, Scott, and his girlfriend in high school, Lisa, are high school sweethearts. They got married.
Mhm.
Lisa is Jessica's cousin. So when they got married, it was a destination wedding,
Yeah.
and that's when Jessica and I
Officially kind of got together. But
Okay.
I used to go to their semi-formals and things like that with Lisa. So
Okay.
that's how I had actually met Ian back in high school.
but I was way too cool for her. So
So going back, since we're talking about being way too cool, we'll go back to the destination wedding. So we kind of like hooked up at the wedding, and it was supposed to be like a short term only at the destination wedding thing. So he was the groomsman and I was one of the bridesmaids. And so it was one of those. I flew home and he stayed, and I was getting emails at all hours of the night saying how much he missed me and he wanted to get to know me better and stuff. And I thought he was crazy. My cousin Lisa was like, no, like he's like, he really likes you. And I was like, uh-huh. So they flew home. Ian flew home.
a week later.
Oh yeah, about a week later. And
So at this point, you've been apart for about a week or two, right?
a week. So we were together,
week.
all together for the destination wedding for 1 week.
Mhm.
And Ian stayed with the groom's brother along with the bride and groom for the extra week.
And he was missing you like crazy within
Yeah.
that week that you were gone.
And so he wasn't my type.
Okay.
Again, too cool.
Ian, just plug your ears for this part. Just pretend you didn't hear this.
And then so
I knew this going in. I like a challenge.
Gotcha. See? Okay, nothing wrong with that.
so he flew home with the bride and groom. So they were living in Mississauga and I was living with them at the time.
Okay.
So he came and he was like, I got you something. And I was like, what did you get me? And he got me this beautiful bracelet that had amber in it. I was like I was totally dumbfounded because I was like, wow, you actually picked something I really liked.
Mhm.
And then he was like, I think we should date. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? And so I agreed to dating because I knew in 3 months I was leaving to go to Scotland with a girlfriend of mine. So I had an easy out.
Sneaky.
Yeah. That's one way to end a relationship, right? Leave the country.
Right? Thank you for the bracelet. See ya.
So
You're making yourself sound horrible.
I know.
No, you know what? She's trying to, she's being honest. She's being honest. That's all.
I'm okay with it. So yes, we dated for like until I left for Scotland, and the dating looked. So Ian lived in London, Ontario. I was living in Mississauga. So Ian would work grave shifts. He would work his grave shift, leave from work, drive to Mississauga, which was like a 2-hour drive, right?
Mhm.
And then get there, get to Scott and Lisa's at whatever time, and then have a nap, and then spend the weekend with me, and then Sunday he would get back in the car, drive back to work, and then start his grave shift again. And
Ian,
so
that is dedication. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Well, challenges take effort.
There you go. That's true. And you did say, you know, you're up for the challenge. So there you go.
So he
Wow.
did that for
3 months.
yeah, for as long as I was home. And so when we started to get a little bit more serious, I kind of like laid everything out on the table.
So I have this thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What exactly did you say to Ian, who's like at this point completely head over heels about you? What did you drop in his lap? What did you say?
So I was like, so I have like, so he knew I had a surgery because the year that we got together at the destination wedding was the year that I had a reconnection surgery. So he knew I had medical things going on. So I was like, okay, so I have ulcerative colitis. I've had my colon removed. I had to have temporary ileostomy. I had a reconnection surgery. I'm probably going to have a liver transplant somewhere down the line because I have a liver issue. And when I'm like 80 or 70, you're going to have to like wipe my bum and change my diapers.
Just put it all out there. Ian, what is going through your mind when you hear all this? The woman that you're like head over heels over is running off a laundry list of this and this and this. And on top of it, you're going to have to wipe my bum when I'm older. Like, what is going through your mind?
I'm hearing honesty.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. At any point, and be honest, were you thinking, you know what, I'm not up for this. I didn't really plan all of this. I just thought, you know, it would just be a regular relationship, possibly, you know, long-term. Well, like, did you think any of that?
No, not really. Like
his answer, like I listed everything and he just turned and looked at me and was like, okay. And I'm like, what do you mean, okay?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what do you mean, okay?
Wow.
Like, okay.
Well, I mean, at some point, everybody's going to be dealing with some type of, you know, health issues or something, right? And right now, yours is all up front.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great way to look at it. And what was going through your mind, Jessica, when you told him this? And he's like, okay, just lay back.
I thought that he probably didn't really understand what he was getting himself into. So, I mean, but what am I going to say? Like, I've said everything and kind of said, you know, kind of what the worst case scenario that I knew at the time would be. And then that's his choice. So I told him up front,
yes,
if you want to keep going with this, then like he knows what to expect because that was the thing. I just
due diligence.
Yes,
exactly. She told you the fine print and you still decided to turn around and stick with her. Wow. At that point, were you thinking he's a keeper at this point? Or were you still thinking, let's just wait and see what happens?
No, I would say like, well, at that point, if I'm trying to remember what my feelings were at the time, but I mean, by that point we were like in the later stages of dating and so becoming more serious. So yeah, like, because I was telling him all of that, that was sort of my way of saying, okay, like you can get out now if you want.
Yes.
Still want to keep going with this, then like you're making a bigger commitment now. So
there's no turning back at this point.
Yeah. So we kept dating. And then I left for Scotland.
She still left.
I also told you that up front and you agreed to date. So
did you go out to see her at any point in Scotland, Ian?
Yep. We spent about a week together. So some other family of mine, my brother and his wife went to Italy, and so on the way to go visit them, I went to Scotland to go visit Jessica.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was probably a couple months after she was there for a while. And we would have, I'd say we'd call each other twice a week and have a fairly long conversation. I mean, I don't think Skype was a thing.
No. Well, yeah. And I didn't computer or anything.
No.
So yeah, so it was all, we were just calling and talking.
Now, did you, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the fact that he flew out to come and see me, that was like another like big thing that I was like, okay, like, wow, he's coming all the way to Scotland. And we had a great trip. Like we were able to, we just rode in a car and drove around Scotland together. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
was the beginning of the travels then.
Yeah.
But so then after that
While
trip,
you were there in Scotland, did you have any health issues at this point?
No, so I was feeling really good actually. Like all the stuff from my ulcerative colitis had kind of been fixed, so to speak.
Okay.
So health that way was fine. And then my liver disease is called PSC, or primary sclerosing cholangitis, and it's a progressive liver disease.
Okay.
So at the time I was asymptomatic, and I continued to be that way for a very long time. So throughout, like, I don't know, there was a few years where I didn't have any symptoms. And that, during that time, no, there was nothing. I wasn't even thinking about it. And I was in Scotland, and I didn't even have, like, there was no liver doctor I was seeing or anything.
Yes.
So
now let's fast forward a bit.
Yeah.
And so you come back from Scotland, and like I said, you felt great down there. When did things start to turn, not less for the worse, but you started feeling different? You started feeling something's not right. When did that happen?
So so between Scotland and when my symptoms started, a lot of things happened in between. So Ian and I got married, we went traveling for 3 years, and then we ended up in Scarborough, Ontario for Ian's job. At that point, I had applied for a job at a casino, and I was doing grave shifts, and that's when things started to affect my work. So my health was becoming an issue. I was with a lot of fatigue, and I had gone to see my GP, and she told me, you can't keep doing grave shifts. So you either need to change your job, or you're going to have to ask for a medical accommodation.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, I was really angry about it. I was really angry that my health was now affecting my job.
Yes.
I got really frustrated during that time. So that was around 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does this run in your family, the ulcerative colitis run in your family? And also, let's explain to the audience what that is, just in case our audience members are aware.
Yeah, so ulcerative colitis, basically you get ulcers in your small or large intestine, your colon.
Okay.
And you can have, so the symptoms of it can vary from person to person, but some common symptoms are, mine were urgency. So I basically was tied to a toilet. I had to be near a bathroom because I had no control. If I had to go to the bathroom, I had to be there in seconds, or I would crap my pants.
Yes.
And reality for me, like going anywhere in a vehicle where I couldn't use a bathroom was so stressful. And I was going to school and having to ride a bus, and I could tell you every stop along the way of where there was a bathroom. Wow. And then I would carry a change of clothes with me. I would always sit closest to the door in a classroom, in a movie theater. I would find out where the bathroom was. The first thing I would look for anywhere I went in a new building would be the bathroom. I still do that, even though now it's not an issue. So and it progressed really, like over 2 years, I went from like all of a sudden having this thing to having emergency surgery and having to have my colon taken out. And wow. I'd never been at the hospital before, never been admitted for anything. I had no idea what was going on, and I'm having this surgery. And
is there medication that you can take? Like before you had the surgery, was there medication to help, I guess, slow down the process or reduce the urgency or something of the sort?
So the medications that they can give you there's no cure for it. There are treatments for your side effects.
Okay.
It can go into remission.
Yes. Right. So that's the goal with the medication that they give you, is to put you into remission. And remission means essentially like you're sort of asymptomatic.
Okay.
The disease isn't gone. You're still there. And yes. A flare up is when the disease is active and you're dealing with the side effects and the issues that come along with the disease.
Wow.
So I was on a lot of medication, and they just kept putting more and more meds on me and changing them out, because they couldn't get me into remission. Nothing was working. I did everything. So that was 2 years, like when I was in my early 20s, and I was also living in British Columbia by myself, because my family were all in Ontario. So yeah, it was a really stressful time.
Now you said that you had your colon removed, correct?
Yep. So I had my entire large intestine removed, and they gave me a temporary ileostomy. So I'm sure people have heard of a colostomy.
Yes.
Ileostomy is essentially the same thing. So it's a bag that they put on that you have on the outside of your stomach where waste goes in. So you're, yeah, you pretty much poop in a bag that's on the outside of your stomach. And it's just the different part of the intestine. So a colon or a colonoscopy, you still have a piece of your colon. Whereas an ileostomy, it's coming from your ileum. So it's the ileum that's being pulled through your, a hole in your stomach, essentially. And they pull a little piece of your intestine through. And the colostomy bag or ileostomy bag goes over top.
Wow.
So I did that for a year.
What was going through your mind when you first found out that you had to have like your large intestines and everything removed? Like at that point,
I was in shock. I still have, I realized like going through the transplant surgery in this process or this last year that I had a lot of like things that I hadn't really dealt with in terms of previous surgeries. So like I was just, you just go into fight or flight mode, and I was in fight the entire time. And I don't really remember a lot of things that happened, like in terms of specifics. I just know that I was just in shock. I know I was in a lot of pain because they were giving me a lot of morphine for the cramping.
Yes.
I didn't realize what was going on when they were marking my stomach for where to put the ileostomy bag. Like, like it was just
The whirlwind.
surreal.
Wow.
Like to be told that you're going to have your colon removed and have a bag that you're going to poop into, and you're just sort of, but you're so sick at the same time. So my flew from Ontario overnight, and while she was flying over, she had a friend reading up on the surgery and everything that was going on. So she was going to happen when she got there. So even that like was super stressful. So, but I mean,
it was very good to have, you know, family nearby, because this is, this is traumatizing, to be honest. This is like a lot, right?
Yeah. And I had amazing friends. I was really lucky in that respect. And yeah, for sure. Having my mom there helped a ton. Yeah. But like I made it through, and I was like, okay, well, I made it through. I'm good now. And I didn't really see anybody like in terms of like therapy or something, or counselor afterwards. And I wish I had, because I think there was a lot that I could have worked through back then.
Oh, yeah.
But I think maybe at that point too, like you said, it's fight or flight at that point. And I think maybe at that point, you're just like, you just want to get through it. You just want to get through it. I'll deal with everything else later. I just want to get through it, you know? So maybe that's what it was as well. I mean, it would have been nice if someone came up to you from the hospital or what have you and said, hey, you know, we have counselors, or we have, you know, someone that you can speak to. I'm not sure if that happened or not, but I think at that point, you just want to go through the motions, you know, and just get it done and over with, and deal with the here and now.
Yeah. And well, and I mean, that was part of it too. Like, don't get me wrong, like everybody that I saw in the hospital at the time, like they were great, like the staff and everything, wonderful. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you who I saw and who I didn't see and what was said to me at the time.
Yes.
But when I was done, like when the surgery was over and I was kind of healed again, I had my life back. And like suddenly, like I wasn't tied to a bathroom now. Like I could do social things and not have this constant worry about, am I going to get to a bathroom in time, or, you know, being in pain or anything like that. So that kind of just sort of took over, and I was like, I can live now. Hooray. Yeah. So who needs to go see a therapist? I'm fine.
You're good. Exactly.
So I just moved on, and that's just kind of how that went. So
now let's talk about your liver situation. So you had one surgery, you're living your life. Let's talk about how this whole liver situation came into play, and all of a sudden you need a transplant.
Great. So I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in like 2002. And then a year I was diagnosed with PSC. So like my liver disease, primary sclerosing cholangitis. And again, at the time, because my ulcerative colitis was so bad, it overshadowed
anything else that's going on.
Yeah. And I was also asymptomatic. So I didn't have any symptoms. It wasn't causing me any issues. They had just said, it's a progressive disease. It'll eventually get worse. Your liver will eventually fail, and then you'll probably need a transplant. And so
future problem.
Exactly.
Yes. Nothing to worry about for now.
And I'm a positive person. You and I have talked about that before.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
one doctor had told me there's always a chance that when you've had your colon removed, because PSC is linked to ulcerative colitis.
Okay.
So I think it's the statistics are something like 75% of patients.
To IBD, not just ulcerative colitis.
IBD is like a higher percentage, like 90 something percent or 90% ish.
And sorry, IBD?
In inflammatory irritable bowel syndrome.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's ulcerative colitis and Crohn's and other things as well. So they're linked somehow. So
not everybody that has an issue with their abdomen is going to have the liver disease. That's
okay.
Yeah.
But
it's just there is a high percentage.
The people that have PSC, 80% of them, quote unquote,
have some
sort of
inflammatory bowel disease.
Okay. Okay.
So PSC is also a rare disease. And so I was lucky because I got diagnosed right away. A lot of patients, it is hard for them to get diagnosed because a lot of people, they get misdiagnosed or they don't know what it is.
Okay.
Sorry,
what was the question?
So how we kind of came to the transplant.
Right. So
thank you.
Yeah. So that's how I was diagnosed. So like I said, I went a long time without having any symptoms. And then even when I had symptoms, it was very gradual. So it happened over like a 6 or 7 year period of time.
Okay.
And so, like I said, like you kind of go along in life and you're like, okay, this is normal. And then something happens where maybe like I said, like my fatigue started affecting my life. And then the new normal. And then you trek along at that new normal. And then again, you get something else goes wrong or it gets worse. And then that's when so we had that time in between where the progression was slow enough that we kind of almost didn't notice it. But when you go from like what you started out as and what you ended up as, it was a huge difference.
Yeah, night and day.
So
now, at any point, did you think, you know what, it's been 6-7 years. There's a couple, differences here and there, but nothing serious. So did you at any point think, you know what, I might not really need this liver transplant, or maybe if I just, I don't know, eat more salad or something of the sort, that might be able to fix the situation. So at any point, did you feel that way?
I had a lot of, so when I was going back to where I was going with all those stories at the backtracking, I was told once by a doctor that it is possible that maybe it won't progress, it won't get any worse, and that having my colon removed could sort of like it could happen with having that surgery. So I hoped that it just wasn't going to progress. My liver numbers did keep getting worse, but I still held out hope that maybe it just wouldn't get to the point where I'd need a liver transplant.
Positive thinking, right?
Exactly. And that or denial, depending on how you look at it, because I don't know that I was necessarily living in the reality of the situation either.
What we always do is a possibility.
Yeah. And
but you focus on the positive.
The positive. Yeah,
but
exactly.
I had a really hard time when I got listed. A really hard time sort of like accepting the fact that I needed to have a transplant and that it was going to happen.
Did something happen where they said, you know what, it's time, we need to list you? Did something happen?
Yeah. So I have been super fortunate to have a really good hepatologist.
Okay.
And he, his name is Dr. Gideon Hirschfield, and he is kind of like, if there was ever to be an expert in PSC, he would be it, I would say. So I was super fortunate to have him as my hepatologist. And because of his experience with PSC, he had said 5 years ago, in about 5 years, you're probably going to need a liver transplant. And it was based just off of what my blood tests were, my history, and just his experience with PSC patients.
Okay.
And he was right on the money.
Spot on.
Literally 5 years later.
And his whole thing, though, was he was very good in terms of his goal for me was he didn't want us to go too soon or too late. So you don't have a transplant too late where you're too sick to get transplanted or you pass away potentially.
And you want to live with your original parts as long as possible.
Right.
Yes.
Because getting a liver transplant, it's not a cure. It's just creating one set of problems for sort of another health thing. So, I mean, we did have, so like I said, we were really lucky that we had Dr. Hirschfield, you know, taking care of me and looking over that, seeing over everything. And we had the privilege of, so there is a PSC organization called PSC Partners Seeking a Cure. There's US and one in Canada. And so we had the privilege of hearing him speak as a speaker at the conferences. Good. And yeah, like he ended up coming to Toronto General, and I got to be one of his patients. So it was like, yay. Yeah, I was really excited about it.
So we were going every year for the 7 or 8 years before COVID.
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, there was a lot of education that we both received at these, more specifically towards your liver disease.
Right.
And
we met a lot of patients and a lot of other people, and at least we had an idea of what it was going to be like. So we had a network of people that we could go to if we had questions, or we had problems, or there's something we didn't understand, or like we've been really fortunate in terms of
the support system.
Yeah, it's great support,
especially for a rare disease, and it's patient run, which is incredible. Yeah, so we were super fortunate to have that group of people, and they played a lot of them played a huge role in going through the transplant process as well.
Okay. So besides being listed, did you reach out to family members or friends to possibly donate and donate your liver or a part of their liver?
Yes. So with PSC, it is we've always been told as patients that our best case scenario would be to find a living donor.
Okay.
Deceased donor is not an ideal situation, because often we'll get too sick or will pass away.
It's the way the grading system works. It's called the MELD score.
Okay.
So the way PSC presents itself is in the blood tests, like any MELD score would be for any kind of liver disease. But the way it presents itself, the numbers are actually lower compared to how sick you are.
Okay. Versus
somebody who's maybe had liver disease from alcohol or opioids or whatever. Their numbers would be higher and not as sick. They're still sick.
Yes.
They would be quicker to get the transplant from a deceased donor than somebody who has PSC, because again, their numbers are lower but sicker.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
the living donor is
better option.
Situation for somebody with the PSC.
Yeah. So basically, it's the grading system in order to get a liver transplant on the deceased donor list. And it just, like Ian said, for PSC patients, that scoring system doesn't represent how sick we are, and that's what they use to determine who is ranked sort of first priority in terms of like who's the sickest.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about how Ian decided to get tested to become a donor. And, maybe not everybody, Jessica, was 100% happy about Ian, trying to become a donor. Let's talk about that.
Go boy. Okay. It's a can first.
Can I just say one thing first? So we did, because your original question before was, did we have family and stuff apply? And we did. So I did reach out to family and friends first, and we didn't really have any applicants.
Okay. Or matches.
Or matches.
Matches.
Yeah. Sorry. Matches.
There was applicants.
But just not in any match. Okay.
Yeah.
So then.
Okay. So how did it come to fruition that I was the donor? Okay, so I'm going to skip over some of the story, but basically August last year, that's when things started to really be seen that she was progressing worse and worse. And it was hard to watch. So we knew there was applicants. We knew that there was people being evaluated. They only evaluate one person at a time, very lengthy process. So fast forward a couple months, so late September, I couldn't watch her progress anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied, submitted, and with the UHN, there's the thing called the portal, which is the patient portal, which has all your medical documents and stuff like that. So I signed up for that because I was going to be Jessica's caregiver post her transplant, and so I needed to have an account so I can see her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I shared my stuff with her because whatever, that's what you do. And I didn't realize that they were going to share that I applied.
And Jessica at this point doesn't know that you applied.
No.
Okay.
In fact, we had talked about
Me not applying.
him not applying and why I didn't want him to apply.
Yeah.
And the reason why you didn't want him to apply, Jessica?
Was because, so we've been through a lot and I've had a lot of medical things go on. So I've had like,
You're complicated.
yes, very. And so I had a lot of concern around who would be my caregiver, and I couldn't imagine anybody other than Ian being my care person. Like just in terms of being able to advocate for me and understand what I've gone through, and if there was anything to come up, like he knew everything there was to know. So that, and I expressed that to him, and so I was very adamant.
It's a valid point.
I was
Yes.
very,
It's not complicated. She's not complicated. She just trusts you 150%. And then she didn't really want just any and everybody to take care of her. So
he's done
I get
such
it.
a good job. I didn't want to, I couldn't
Exactly.
find anybody else.
Exactly. So
So then the patient portal notified Jessica of this. Sorry, you had a notification on her phone, and it's like Ian has updated thing in the portal. So then saw.
I was like, oh, Ian has something in his patient portal. What is this? He had signed up for the account, but he doesn't have any doctors at UHN. He just signed up so that he could see mine. And let's read what's in here. And it was like, thank you, Ian, for your application. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh. So I called him.
There was some choice words.
So Ian, is there something you'd like to tell me?
Yeah. I was like, so.
I'm like, oh, and my short-term memory's back, right? So she's like, is there something you want to tell me? I'm like, oh God, what'd I do? Not thinking the application.
So needless to say, he was like, yeah, I applied. And I was like, okay.
Now at this point, you're kind of hoping he's not a match, like.
Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't that upset. I just wish that he had told me instead of me finding out by reading through a piece of paper that said he had applied.
And I like to go with, you do first and then ask for forgiveness later, right?
And
well, there you go.
I do agree with that theory. I can't argue. But yeah, no, I was just sort of like, okay, so he's applied. I'm like, there's at that stage we had a campaign looking for a live donor. So we had,
applicants, people being evaluated.
Yeah, so it was. I wasn't as necessarily concerned as he was.
I wasn't the guy yet, right?
Yeah, and I was like, we have other applicants. Like, I'm sure it'll be somebody else.
Yes, there's a lot of people out there. Why not, right? And so you find out, oh my gosh, he actually is a match.
Yeah,
Ian
got a call.
No, so there was. This is the next part. So there's the phone call where I was next to be evaluated.
Okay.
So the first thing you do is you submit the application with your blood type, right? So that's the first screening process. Yeah, your blood type has to match, right?
Yes.
So the nurse calls me and she goes, "Okay, you're so and so." I'm like, "Yeah." And you've applied for Jessica? Yeah. Okay, you're the next one to be evaluated. Did you want to proceed with this? Well, at that point, sitting outside at the picnic table at work, and I'm like, shit, I don't know if that's it. So I asked her the question. I'm like, okay, I know there's a fair bit of applicants. My concern is I was planning to be her her caregiver, and if I go through the process, I can't be that person. And I mean, they were telling me that there are some applicants, but I was the youngest and healthiest. That's why they're going to choose the youngest and healthiest person to donate, because they're the most likely to be a successful donor, not die
or have
or have complications, right?
Yes.
So I was a compliment. I was the youngest and healthiest. I'm like, all right.
Are you sure?
So with the caregiving part of it, the nurse told me she basically said that it is easier to find a caregiver than it is to find a match.
And I love that. I am so happy she said that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that was actually my ammo for when I told Jess, right? So lessons learned with, the not telling her that I applied. So hung up the phone with the nurse after I agreed to go through the evaluation. I called Jess straight away before anything goes up in this patient portal, right? I'm not doing this again.
See, Jessica, he learned.
Yeah.
See?
I literally have scars to prove it. So they, I called Jessica, and I'm like, and I said the exact same thing that the nurse said to me, that it's easier to find a caregiver, right?
And that was my biggest concern. So I was glad that he at least had asked that question, and that was the reply he got, because you can't really argue with that. Because when he did tell me, I was numb. Like I just felt
it's a mixed bag of emotions.
Right? Yeah,
of course.
Thrilled about it. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how to describe it other than just having this all over numb feeling of just not knowing what to do with the information I was just given. So I sat with that for like a day, and then it took a little while before I was kind of okay with it.
Yes.
But during that time, while you're trying to, swallow that jagged pill, I was getting evaluated. So there was the MRIs, the X-rays, the blood tests, the
CT scan.
CAT scan.
Yeah.
Social workers, psychologists, everything. The process was it was really
expensive. Yeah.
Everybody I talked to, fantastic.
Within a week.
Yeah, like all my testing was basically done. So she called me on a Thursday, and I think I had a MRI the following Friday. And like they just fit you in whenever they can, right? And a couple weeks after that, after from being told I'm being evaluated, they called me again. That's when you were in the car with me. So Jess was getting albumin infusions.
So I was getting infusions to treat the water retention that I was having in my legs, because my diuretic pills weren't working really.
Okay.
So something else to help with the water retention.
So
we were going downtown for an appointment.
Yeah, she was going downtown for an appointment, and when we got the call, so we're both in the car, and nurse calls, and I'm like, okay, I'm Jessica in the car. She's like, okay, I'm okay to share this information if you are. I'm like, yes, I am. And that's what happened.
So she said that Ian was anatomically a match, and then we had a tentative date.
She's like,
wow, a date already. Thank you for joining us on the Green Table Talk, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.